So, I'd been in the market for a new chair, and after a lot of research, I felt pretty confident in the Fabric Secret Lab chair. As I started picking up my options, the size, the upholstery, and finally the color of the chair, I stumbled across possibly the greatest thing ever. A Naruto Shippuden collaboration line featuring an Akatsuki themed chair. It was a bit pricier than the other options, but after seeing how incredible it looked, and the fact that Naruto is easily my favorite anime of all time, well,
A few moments later.
The chair is finally here, and I am so goddamn excited to finally get this thing together, especially because it is the sweet, sweet, sweet Akatsuki Secret Labs chair. Now, I know this channel is not a chair review, chair assembly channel. We don't get into the nitty-gritties of the lumbar support and proper knee positioning. However, I spent 1,000 Australian dollars on this, so I'm bringing you all along with me on the journey of building this chair. And while I'm at it, I might share with you a few little bits and pieces as to why Naruto probably is my absolute favorite anime of all time. Let's get into it. Okay, pull handles to slide backrest out gently. How do I do that gently? Okay, first, let's move this out. Do it gently, it says. Do it gently. I'm doing it! Oh, fuck. Is this what it said? Oh, the handle's on the bag, the handle's on the bag. All right. All right, backrest is out. And as you can see, we got the beautiful Akatsuki cloud. Give me a second, I'm just gonna get all the parts out and we're gonna speed through this and I'm gonna start the assembly in just a second. All right, we've reached a fairly easy part of the assembly. I'm just putting the wheels on, that's step one. I did not check everything against the checklist. I probably should have done that. I'm just gonna trust that they put it all in here. We'll find out soon enough if something's missing. But since this is fairly straightforward, I'll start telling you a little bit about why I love Naruto. So Naruto was probably the first proper anime I watched. So if we kind of ignore, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all that sort of stuff. Dragon Ball even, I watched that when I was a child, but it never hooked me into anime. Later on, when I was in high school, I stumbled on Naruto, and it was my gateway into anime, as I'm sure it was for many people that love anime. And it will always exist as a god tier anime for me, so anything that ever goes up against like Naruto on like a top 10 list is just at an unfair advantage, or an unfair disadvantage, I should say. Because one, it just has so much nostalgic value for me, but two, some of the lessons that I learned through that were just incredible. Because I learned a lot in a lot of the shows and things that I watched that kind of molded a lot of who I am as the person that I am today. And especially with Naruto, Naruto himself, the character, he just taught me a lot, especially about perseverance. But it's a little more around the way perseverance is shown, because in most shonen anime, main character has dream, main character works hard, main character achieves dream. Currently, my dream is to put this chair together, so I'm hoping I can get there. But especially the way it shows just even the self-realization of what Naruto had to go through in terms of understanding what he wanted to do, how he wanted to achieve it. And that wasn't just as simple as try really hard. There was definitely a part of it. He definitely had to train a lot. He had to try really hard. But it was more about learning about other people and learning to rely on other people. And even just kind of understanding that he needed to see his own faults, his own issues, his own weaknesses, and he needed to learn how to overcome them, or sometimes realize that he's not the best person to do it the way that it's being taught, but he actually needs to think more creatively and lean into his strengths. So a perfect example was when he was learning the Rasengan. Naruto's really good if he just focuses on one single task. He's really, really good. But if you get him trying to do multiple things at once or think about multiple things at once, the whole thing kind of falls apart a little bit for him. And so he learned early on, or he learned through the process of trying to learn the Rasengan, that that's just not going to work for him, because you need to do 3 things to make the Rasengan happen. You need to obviously have control over your chakra and output it to your hand. You need to compress it as it's coming out, and then you also need to make it spin. That's 3 things, and he wasn't good at it, but what he did is he figured out his own unique solution, which was to create 3 shadow clones, or 2 shadow clones with him as the 3rd, and through that process, each one took care of something for him. One person, he would funnel the chakra, and the other 2 would focus on the compression and the spinning. And it was just an incredible lesson to me at the time about how don't just try and do something the way it's said it has to be done. Sometimes you're not going to be the best person to do that. Sometimes it's not going to work for you. And sometimes you need to kind of think creatively and use the strengths that you have. You know, a perfect analogy for that is the idea that you can probably punch a wall down if you're dedicated enough. You can probably punch it down. You can probably sit there long enough with your bare fists and get it done. But if you're good at swinging a sledgehammer, it's a lot easier. All right, this part's a little bit more complex. We'll circle back in a second. Step 4, remove the 4 MB screws installed in the backrest. Okay, this is all in the backrest. So I thought that was next. It was not. It's back to the backrest. I did bring a whole bunch of tools in with me just in case I needed them, but Secret Lab was kind enough to provide me with all the tools I needed, which I'm honestly happy they did for the price I paid for this chair. Now, I can probably hear you saying, all right, you've talked a lot about Naruto, but you have an Akatsuki chair, and that is most commonly associated with Itachi. Why did you not buy the Naruto chair if you're so fond of Naruto? Well, there's more to the story in terms of favorite characters that I have in Naruto. Also, a completely superficial reason is that the orange and yellow of the Naruto version of this chair just aren't really my colors, but the red and black is really nice. But as for why I got this one, beyond the superficial, is because I truly do love the character of Itachi. Which I know I'm not unique for loving Itachi, I know a lot of people do, but there's a lot of reasons as to why. Some of them personal, some of them I won't share. But absolutely some things that I can. And I'll do that as soon as I've done this next part, which is more complicated and does involve this. I could talk while I'm taking all this wrapping off, but do you really want that noise? Didn't think so. I'll be back in a second. What the hell are you? What is this thing? Do not remove this strap until the backrest has been securely installed. Okay. I hear you. I nearly did it. And now you can see it all starting to come together. This chair is so nice, by the way. So, back to Itachi. There's several reasons that I love him, really. And most of them come down to his undying loyalty and wanting to protect his little brother. And his, above all else, his want for there to be peace and being willing to do whatever it takes to have that happen. Now, is wiping out your entire clan and going along with that possibly the best way to do that? I would probably suggest there's maybe a couple of different things he could have done. But just that notion that peace above all else and being willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's misunderstood, even if it could be horrible. And while I don't take that lesson to heart in my everyday life, it's definitely something that resonated quite strongly with me, that sometimes in order to do something that is good, you may need to be willing to be hated by people, misunderstood by people, in order to have that happen, in order to be able to bring that outcome to fruition. And it's quite a powerful message, because oftentimes doing the right thing, in air quotes, and this is kind of how I adapted it, doing the right thing is not easy. It is quite commonly a very difficult thing to do. The road is often full of hardships and misfortune, and it can be quite lonely at times. And just seeing in his example somebody that was willing to take that burden on and go through that and wear it because he truly believed in the outcome that he was working towards, while maybe misguided in the way that he did it, I do believe that it's a very powerful message and something that resonated quite strongly with me as I was watching the show, and something that stuck with me really as I've continued to get older. Now, let me just make sure I don't misunderstand this next part. I misunderstood an important part of this whole process. I was only meant to do these halfway. Okay, we are now safe to screw them all in. And outside of that one particular lesson, one that I probably won't go into a whole heap, is his undying love for his little brother. His want for his little brother to become more than just being an Uchiha, being more than his clan, being more than his namesake, and actually living and finding happiness for himself. Away from war and away from pain. And obviously Sasuke had to go through his own struggles, much to the chagrin of most of us, I think, in watching some of the decisions Sasuke made. But ultimately, Itachi's example, in the end, after a few missteps on Sasuke's part, and what Itachi wanted for him, eventually those things did come to pass. And it's quite beautiful when you look at it from that perspective. Now, outside of particular characters and things of that nature, and with probably exception to maybe the ending a little bit, because I truly feel like the ending was great, but the greatness of Naruto is really in everything before that. And it's in the continuous questioning of morals, continuous questioning of philosophies, the continuous self-reflection that it kind of brings about, in the sense of, especially with some of the villains and how you can relate to their stories, you can really understand where they're coming from and why they think the way that they do. And you're kind of left at many points kind of just thinking to yourself, I can't really disagree with you. I may disagree with the means by which you're executing this, and one perfect example is pain, but I can't disagree with why you're here. I can't really fault you for ending up in this position. And I think things like that, anything that makes you question and really think about things broader, it's not just good guys and bad guys, it's really people. And people have gone through horrible things, and they have led to particular outcomes and them doing certain things. That really, for me, is why, even to this day, I would still say Naruto is one of my favorites. Let me figure out what I'm supposed to do here, because I can't sit here and talk to you about Naruto all night, even though I would love to. Okay, so these are magnetic. Where do these go on? So, I'm assuming like so. Ooh! Well, isn't that a bit snazzy? Magnetic? Bam. The Phillips head screwdriver. Aha! Just attaches into this nice little doohickey here. It's quite nice. All right, safety screw is removed. Hopefully I don't die. All right, put you, I guess I can just chuck you over here, and I'll keep the screw nearby in case I need that later. Note, do not discard the recline safety tab and screw, as they can be reinstalled for child safety. Well, as I am not a child physically, and I don't have any, I think I'll be all right. Lift the chair and gently set it facing downwards. A lever. Pull the lever, Crunk. Wrong lever. Okay, gently, everybody. We're doing this gently. The instructions said gently. We are doing gently. Okay. And this is the height, which needs to go on this way. How do these go on? Oh, yeah, there we go. Now, something else that I can think of as a reason I love Naruto as well, and this does circle back to Naruto a little bit, but realistically it can be applied to most of the characters in the show. It's just for Naruto, this particular example is a little bit more real, literal, less metaphorical. And that is, of course, the nine-tailed fox, at least in the early days before, obviously, Naruto and him become buddies. And that is the concept of having something inside you that you need to learn to control, and that you may need to find a way to turn it around for ultimate good. Now, there's a number of things you could look at that in the case of Naruto, for example. 1 second, we'll circle back over to this in a second. I just need to understand what I'm doing next. Lift the assembled wheelbase and insert the hydraulic piston into the socket of the tilt mechanism. And then flip it back up the other way. Got it. We're nearly at the end, everybody. I should be able to do this and talk, I hope. We'll find out anyway. So, in the case of Naruto, the nine-tailed fox would come out whenever he went into just ultimate despair, anger, however you kind of want to interpret the emotions that he would go through that would prompt that change in him. And ultimately, one of the biggest challenges Naruto went through was to understand how to control that. And ultimately, he learned how to turn it to his advantage even before he became friends with Kurama himself. And I think that was just another really big lesson for me, in that sometimes you may have something inside you, whether that's emotions, whether that's pain, whether that's whatever it could be, and you cannot let it overcome you, can't let it overtake you. If you do that, it just becomes self-destructive and destructive to all the people you care about around you. Instead, you need to understand a little bit more about what it is, how it's affecting you, and at the end of the day, you need to figure out a way, if you can, to turn it to something positive. So if you've had a very painful experience in your life, maybe you can learn how to either take the lesson from that and have it affect your life in a positive way, or even turn that pain into something that can help others who may be struggling with similar things. There's a lot of really incredible lessons that I could probably talk about all night with Naruto if I wanted to, but that's probably going to wrap up that particular section. And now I'm going to flip this thing over and do the last couple of pieces. And this chair is ready to go, and we'll get a bit of a closer look at it. Oh yeah. Don't mind me, I'm just giving it a little... Oh, I haven't even finished it, and I'm already in just like the greatest sense of comfort in the world. Okay, I gotta finish this off 1 second. And so hopefully this has been entertaining. I know this is an incredibly random video, but I was glad to have all of you with me while I was doing this. I'm gonna take a closer look, but I thought I would show you some of the very cool things about this chair. Number one, is there any particular side? I don't think so. I'm gonna put this on the inside. Oh yeah, there it is. These are magnetic. So Secret Lab does sell different ones that you can get if you want something a little bit more fluffier, but I quite like this foam here. Also, probably should have said this at the start. This is not sponsored by Secret Lab. Look at the number of subscribers I have. This was definitely not sponsored by anyone. This was bought with my own money because I just have a massive thing for Naruto, and I really needed a new chair because the one I had, let's just say when I bought it, I was a bit slimmer. I wasn't as broad as I am now. I hadn't been working out as much. And just over time, it had started to become a little bit uncomfortable. All right, so that's all of this done. There's only one thing left to do with the Secret Lab chair. And that is the magnetic headrest. Yes, you read that right, or you heard that right. You didn't read anything. This thing is magnetic. So I just, ta-da! It's just magic. Magnets, how do they work, right? Just there, so you can kind of slide it around and find the exact position that you want, which for me would be right there. And oh, this already feels good. And there's lumbar support. I can adjust the sides. I can adjust these however I want. The chair is together. let's take a closer look at it. And now you are talking to future Justin, who has been sitting in this chair for a couple of days now, and I gotta say, it has absolutely lived up to everything I hoped it would. There was one thing that happened with the lumbar support where it was making a little bit of weird creaking noises, but apparently all you need to do is, with the knobs that are on the side, to adjust it is just literally max them out back and forth a whole bunch of times, and it basically wears in the lumbar support or something. Now that noise doesn't happen anymore, which has been great. But honestly, this is such a huge upgrade from my previous chair. Just from the amount of ways I am able to rotate the handles, you can't even see that, but I'm able to rotate sort of the armrests in and out. I can slide them in and out as well. It does fully recline back. I'm not going to do that because I can't see how much space I've got, and I'm probably going to just knock all of my statues off. Also, this is the new setup. You can obviously see a lot more than what you would have seen in other videos if you've seen any of those before. I just have now the space to actually show in more of what's around me and be less cropped in nice and tight on my face, which if you remember, we were very intimate back in some of my older face cam ones. You'll still notice that over on that side there's still a couple of shelves that still need to be worked out, but I'm having a lot of fun just kind of playing around with stuff. And that brings the Naruto chair building and Naruto story time to an end. I hope you had a fun time just hanging out with me, and I hope a lot of the points I tried to make made sense. Like Naruto, if you give me more than one thing to focus on at a time, it can be a little confusing. So while trying to build a chair and tell stories, I hope everything sort of made sense in the midst of it all. If you have seen Naruto, please share some of the stories and lessons and things that you learned from it, because I love hearing about that stuff. If you haven't seen Naruto, you need to go fix that now. No, seriously, I do think it's really worth doing, but do drop a comment below if you haven't seen it. There's a lot of filler involved. This is back when they used to release anime every single week, regardless of how far ahead the manga was. So there is a lot of filler that you absolutely need to skip in order to properly enjoy the actual show itself. Otherwise, now that I'm settled into the new studio, I am starting to look at different content that I can add into the channel outside of the Let's Plays, which will always continue. So let me know if there's something you want to see me do. I'm obviously working on a number of different bits and pieces, but I always want to include all of you in that process, so throw ideas at me. Do you want to see more of these statues? Because they're all new. There's a whole bunch of new ones you've never seen before because I couldn't display them at my old home. Do you want to learn more about me? Are there things that you'd like me to kind of cover? Just let me know. I'm always open to it. But that is going to be all for today. So leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment below with all the things. I think I've asked you to comment about 50 different things. Leave your comments below. And if you're new and you enjoyed this, please subscribe. But that's all for today. So bye for now. Ding 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 bum 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 bum.